There are 6 legal provisions sitting in state and federal code right now that can cut, cap, or in some cases, completely stop the electric bill you've been paying every single month for years. 6. And before I go one sentence further, I have to clear up the single biggest misunderstanding about this topic, because it's the exact reason most people who legally qualify never file a single form for it. This is not welfare. Well, it is not charity, and it is not something you have to be broke to use. It is regulated utility law. It already applies to you. Nobody at the power company is going to call and tell you that. Before we go further, let's clear the room of every reason. You're about to talk yourself out of this. Some of you are thinking, I own my home outright. I have some savings. This is for poor people. Well, you're wrong. The biggest program in this video, the one regulated by your state's utility commission, uses income brackets that go well past the poverty line in several states. A retired couple living on Social Security and a modest pension qualifies without ever touching a food bank. Some of you are thinking, I rent, my landlord pays the utilities. This doesn't apply to me. You're wrong on 2 counts. The Federal Weatherization Program and the Federal Heating Assistance Program both explicitly cover renters with your landlord's cooperation, and one of the state protections in this video applies to you. On the meter in your name, regardless of whether you own the walls around you. Some of you are thinking, I already make too much for government help. Every single program in this video has an income ceiling well above what most people assume. One of them tops out near $80,000 a year for a household of 4, and some of you under 60. 5 with a disability are thinking this video isn't for you. It is. Every program here that's age, triggered has a disability, triggered parallel path, and ill flag it as we go. So this is for every one of you, the frugal homeowner, the careful renter, the person who's never taken a dime of assistance in their life, and the person who's already stretched thin. None of you are exempt from being exempt. Let me make this as concrete as I can. A retired Ohio couple on a fixed $2,000 a month income paying a $250 electric bill is legally entitled to cap that bill at $120 a month under one of the programs in this video, a $130 month difference. That's $1,560 a year. Run that over 15 years of retirement, and you're at over $23,000 left on the table, unclaimed. Because nobody filed one form. A California retiree on a modest fixed income can knock 30 to 35% off every single electric bill for the rest of the time they live in that home permanently. Well, not once. A Pennsylvania homeowner facing a shutoff notice may be entitled to a legal hearing before a state utility commission before anyone can touch their power simply because of their age. This is not hypothetical. There is real money and real legal protection on this list with your name already on it in whatever state you live in, and every year you don't file. That money goes to someone else's rate discount instead of your bill. Here's the part that should make you angry. In a controlled way, your utility company has zero financial incentive to tell you about a program that lowers what you owe them. They don't call. They don't mail you the enrollment form on your 65th birthday. They are legally required to offer these programs. They are not legally required to make sure you know to ask. Your mortgage company didn't mention it when you paid off the house. Your tax preparer, who sees your income every April, isn't required to check utility eligibility. That's not their job. Well, your county senior center might know if you happen to walk in and ask the right person on the right day. That is the entire reason the overwhelming majority of eligible seniors never file not concealment. Not malice, just a system built entirely around you raising your hand first, administered by an agency that has no budget line for finding you and every incentive to let the enrollment period quietly close. What I do on this channel is take the parts of the tax code and utility regulations that are written in language built to be skimmed past and translate them into something you can actually act on this week. Well, here's exactly what's coming in order. We're starting with the 2 federal programs that exist in every single state. So wherever you're watching from, the first 2 apply to you today. Then we move to 3 real current state programs, California, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, as verified examples of what these bill reduction programs look like in practice, because the exact numbers do vary by state. I'm closing with something I went digging for specifically, a state regulation that, as far as I can tell, exists in no other video on this topic, a law in 2 states that gives you. Well, simply for turning 65, a legal hearing right before your power can ever be shut off. Stay through to the end for that one. It's the closest thing on this list to genuine legal armor. And almost nobody who qualifies has ever heard of it. Being legally entitled to pay less for your electricity and actually paying less are 2 completely different things. The law does not lower your bill automatically. Nobody adjusts your rate out of kindness. You have to know the provision exists, and you have to be the one who picks up the phone and files it. Let's start with the first one, the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program known as LIHEAP. Here is exactly what it does. LIHEAP is a federal program funded by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and run through your state and local community action agency. That pays money directly to your utility company on your behalf to cover heating and cooling bills, and it can also step in during an active shutoff emergency. Who qualifies? Most states set the income ceiling at 150% of the federal poverty level, though several states go up to 200% or use 60% of state median income instead. Whichever is higher, so check your specific state's number rather than assuming you're over the line. If you already receive SNAP, SSI, or TANF, you're typically automatically income eligible, no separate proof required, and the real dollar impact regular LIHEAP benefits typically run $400 to $1,500 a year depending on your state and household size. And a separate crisis benefit for an active shutoff or an empty fuel tank can add several $100s more on top of that. Exactly where does this live? Your state's LIHEAP office. Almost always administered locally through a community action agency. You do not apply through your utility company directly. So how do you actually get it? Call your local community action agency and say, I'd like to apply for LIHEAP heating assistance. Can you tell me the income limit for my household size and send me the application? Most states open applications in October and keep them open through March, with crisis assistance available year-round. Now, the most common way people lose it, waiting until the application window closes, or assuming a modest pension disqualifies them without ever checking the actual number for their state. And one important warning, LIHEAP never asks for a fee and never sends you a personal check. It pays your utility directly. If anyone contacts you asking for money to release a LIHEAP grant, that's a scam, not the real program. That's the floor everyone in the country can stand on. Now let's look at a program that goes further and completely resets what your bill looks like for the rest of the year. The Weatherization Assistance Program, here is exactly what it does. This is a separate federal program run by the U.S. Department of Energy through the same local agencies that sends a crew into your home free of charge to seal drafts. Add insulation tune-up or repair your furnace or air conditioning and fix the specific things making your home expensive to heat and cool in the first place. This is not a one-time credit. It's a physical upgrade to the house that keeps saving you money every month after the crew leaves. Who qualifies? The federal ceiling is 200% of the poverty level, or 60% of state median income, whichever your state uses, and if you already receive supplemental security income, you're automatically eligible. Seniors 60 and older are named as a priority group in the federal criteria, meaning if there's a wait list, you move up it. The real dollar impact, the Department of Energy's own national evaluation, puts average annual savings at $372 or more per household every year for as long as you live there, and some states report significantly more. Pennsylvania, for example, reports an average of over $8,500 in weatherization work performed per approved household. Exactly where does this live? Your local weatherization agency or community action agency, the same office that handles LIHEAP in most areas, which means one phone call can start both files at once. So how do you actually get it? Call and say, I'd like to apply for the Weatherization Assistance Program. Is my household on the eligible list? And can I get an energy audit scheduled? The most common way people lose it, assuming renting disqualifies them. It doesn't. Renters qualify with the landlord's written agreement, and that's genuinely one of the most underused parts of this program. One phone call, two federal programs started. Now let's get specific, because the next three items are where the numbers get big, and they vary by state. So I want to show you exactly how this plays out in three real states so you know what to look for in yours. First, California and its alternate rates for energy program known as CARE. Here's exactly what it does. CARE is a permanent, ongoing discount on your electric bill, regulated by the California Public Utilities Commission, not a one-time payment for the state's largest utilities. That's a 30 to 35% discount on every electric bill and a 20% discount on gas for as long as you're enrolled. Who qualifies for the current program year? The income ceiling is roughly $42,300 a year for a one or two person household, scaling up to around $108,300 for a household of 8. And here's the part where the too comfortable for this crowd checks out and where you really shouldn't. If your income runs slightly above that CARE limit, a second program called FARA still gets you an 18% discount. Well, you're also automatically eligible for care if you're already enrolled in Medi, Cal, SI, or SNAP, the real dollar impact on a typical $150 monthly electric bill. A 30 to 35% discount is $45 to $52 back in your pocket every single month, over $500 a year, indefinitely, not once. Well, exactly where does this live? Your electric utility directly PGE, Southern California Edison, or SDGE all administer their own care enrollment. So how do you actually get it? Call your utility and say, I'd like to apply for the care discount program. Can you check my household income against the current limit? Now, the most common way people lose it. And I want you to write this one down. Care requires verification every 2 years for most households. Every 4 years, if you're on a fixed income, people enroll once, forget the renewal notice ever arrives, and quietly lose the discount without realizing it. Put a reminder on your calendar the day you enroll. That's California a straight percentage off forever as long as you keep renewing. Now let's look at a state that takes a completely different, and in some ways more powerful, approach. Ohio and its percentage of income payment plan plus, known as PIP plus. Well, here's exactly what it does, and here's the part that should make this land. PIP plus doesn't discount your bill, it caps it, regardless of how much electricity you actually use. Well, your monthly payment is legally set as a fixed percentage of your household income, and the state subsidizes the rest directly to the utility. Who qualifies? Households at or below 170. 5% of the federal poverty level, regulated by the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio for both PUCO, regulated electric and gas service. Homeowners and renters both qualify. The real dollar impact your payment is capped at 6% of household income for electric service, 6% for gas, or 10% combined if you heat with electricity, with a minimum payment of just $10 a month. Take that Ohio couple from earlier $2,000 in monthly income means a $120 electric payment cap, no matter what the meter actually reads. And here's the number that should make this really land every single on. Time in, full monthly payment earns a credit against any old unpaid balance you're carrying. 24 consecutive on-time payments and whatever arrearage you owed is completely forgiven. Well, exactly where does this live? Apply online at energyhelpio.gov or through your local community action agency. So how do you actually get it? Call and say, I want to apply for PIP plus. The percentage of income payment plan. The most common way people lose it missing a single monthly payment resets the arrearage forgiveness clock and failing to verify income annually by your enrollment anniversary date drops you from the program entirely. This is not a poverty program in the way people picture it. This is a working and retired income program with a legally binding cap, and it rewards consistency more than anything else on this list. That's a legal ceiling on what you can ever be charged. Well, now for a state that combines both approaches, a percentage cap and forgiven back debt under one specific regulation with its own number, Pennsylvania and its Customer Assistance Program, known as CAP PIP. Here is exactly what it does. Like Ohio, Pennsylvania's Customer Assistance Program sets your monthly utility payment as a percentage of your income rather than your usage. Under a formal state regulation, Title 52 of the Pennsylvania Code, Section 69, 265, that lays out exact percentage tiers by poverty level and by whether you heat with electricity or gas. Who qualifies? Households at or below 150% of the federal poverty level. Utilities including PECO, PPL, and Duquesne Light all run their own version of this program. The real dollar impact, depending on your income tier, you'll pay between roughly 2 and 10% of your household income toward your bill, with a legally set minimum monthly payment as low as $10 for standard electric service. And for first-time enrollees, past due balances can be forgiven outright the moment you enroll, not earned back slowly over 2 years like in Ohio. Exactly where does this live? Well, your specific electric utility's Customer Assistance Program office, the name and phone number differ by provider. So search for your utility's name along with CAP program, or call the number on your bill and ask for it by name. So how do you actually get it? Say, I'd like to apply for the Customer Assistance Program, sometimes called CAP PIP, and I need to know my income tier. The most common way people lose it, switching to a competitive electric supplier instead of staying with your regulated utility. CAP PIP requires you to use your utility's own electric and gas supply if you've shopped around to a third party supplier to save a little on the per kilowatt rate. You may have accidentally disqualified yourself from a program worth far more. 3 states, 3 real numbers, 1 pattern. The law already caps or discounts what you owe. Now, the one I promised you, the provision that isn't about your bill at all. It's about whether anyone can ever turn your power off in the first place. Here's exactly what it does. Well, and here's the part that, as far as I can tell, exists in no other video on this topic. In Michigan, State Administrative Code Rule 460, 149 states plainly that a customer over 65 shall not have electric service terminated for non-payment during the winter months, as long as they're enrolled in and staying current on a payment plan in Massachusetts. The regulation goes even further under 220-25. ZO 5, the utility is required to identify which households consist entirely of adults over 65 and before that household's power can be shut off for any reason. The utility must get approval from the State Department of Public Utilities, and the resident has the legal right to a hearing before that agency first. Who qualifies? Every resident 60. 5 or older in these states automatically, by age, no income test at all on this particular protection. Most states with any elderly specific shutoff rule pair it with either a payment plan requirement or a doctor's note for medical necessity, so check your own state's exact trigger. The real dollar impact this time isn't measured in dollars, it's measured in the legal right to a hearing. A delay or a payment plan before anyone can cut your power, a right most people 65 and older don't know they already have. Exactly where does this live? Your state's Public Utility Commission, in your own utilities, customer protection, or medical certification department. So how do you actually get it? Call your utility now, before there's ever a shut-off notice, and say, I'm over 65. Can you flag my account for age-based disconnection protection and tell me what I need to have on file? That's the part almost everyone misses. The most common way people lose it, waiting until a shut-off notice actually arrives to ask about it, in most states. This protection has to be on file before a disconnection is initiated. You can't invoke it retroactively once the notice is already in your hand this week, before anything else on this list. Is exactly when to make that one call. So there's the list, the exclusive one, the age 65 shut-off hearing right paid off exactly like I promised, not a discount, but a legal shield. Sitting quietly in 2 states' administrative code that most people never learn about until they're already staring at a disconnection notice. Being legally entitled to pay less, or to be protected from losing power at all, and actually claiming that entitlement are 2 completely different things. Nothing on this list activates itself. The law does not adjust your bill for you. Well, you have to be the one who makes the call. So this week, do just this one thing: call your utility company. Ask specifically about your state's customer assistance program or percentage of income payment plan, and ask them to check you for LEHEAP and weatherization eligibility in the same conversation. One phone call can start 3 of the 6 items on this list at once. And if you know someone, a parent, a neighbor, the retired couple down the street living carefully on a fixed income, send this to them today. The overwhelming majority of people who qualify for every program on this list will never hear about a single one of them unless someone who already knows tells them directly. Be the person who tells them.